After 3 years of work, Fantasy Flight Games is finally launching their new Star Wars Unlimited TCG globally in 2024. Star Wars Unlimited promises to bring balance to the Force with a pure and focused card game experience that includes content from just about every source imaginable: movies, TV shows, comics, video games, and more. The possibilities are truly unlimited. The first set, Spark of Rebellion, is set to focus on the dawn of the Galactic Civil War, while sets 2 and 3, which are already announced, are called Shadows of the Galaxy and Twilight of the Republic. So if you're a Star Wars fan like I am, you are in the right place. I'm going to be teaching you everything you need to know to play the most exciting card game since Sabacc. I'm Dan with Main Deck, and this is the ultimate how to play Star Wars Unlimited. Alright, as usual, let's start with the basics. Star Wars Unlimited is a fast-paced, competitive TCG that typically pits 2 players against each other, though multiplayer play is going to be supported as well. To play the game, players need a 50 card or more main deck, 1 two-sided leader card, 1 base card, and some tokens and dice will come in handy as well. As I mentioned, your deck must consist of at least 50 cards, but there is no limit for total size. You may only include up to 3 copies of any particular card, and all cards in the deck must have the Star Wars Unlimited card back, so that means your leader and base cards are not included in those 50 cards. The goal of a game of Star Wars Unlimited is singular: deplete the HP on your opponent's base. And for the mill fans out there, that's still a thing here. If your deck runs out of cards during the game, every time you try to draw a card from an empty deck, your base will take 3 damage. There's one other core thing to understand, and that is the game's aspect system. Aspects are kind of like card colors in other TCGs. In Star Wars Unlimited, there are 6 different aspects: heroism, villainy, vigilance, cunning, aggression, and command. Cards will typically have 1 or more of these symbols on them. They can even have multiple of the same symbol. Leader and base cards will provide these symbols to you, allowing you to play cards with matching symbols without paying any additional cost. You can play cards that your leader and base don't match symbols for, but for each symbol that you can't match onto your leader or base, you have to pay an additional 2 resources to play that card. This is called the aspect penalty. Now, with that out of the way, as we always do here, before we can jump into really explaining the rules of the game, we have to go through the anatomy of the cards. First, let's start with your base card. Every deck must include 1 base card. In the starter set, bases have 30 HP and no card effects, but this is potential design space to explore in the future. Your base provides an aspect symbol up here in the corner. Administrator's Tower, for example, provides the cunning symbol. This will let you ignore the aspect penalty for 1 cunning symbol on a card you play, but if a card has 2 cunning symbols, you may still have to pay a penalty of 2 resources, unless your leader card also provides a 2nd cunning symbol. Next, let's look at a leader card. Your leader card is a 2-sided card that represents a famous character from the Star Wars universe. You'll start the game with your leader card in play on its horizontal, non-unit side. Your leader card provides the rest of your aspects. See, this Luke here provides heroism and vigilance, allowing you to play cards with up to 1 heroism and or 1 vigilance symbol at no additional cost. Down here are the traits. These don't have any special rules and only matter when other cards reference them. This here is your leader's ability. Their ability will be active and usable from the very first turn of the game. Your leader card also has an epic action, which can only be used 1 time per game. This action allows you to flip the leader to its vertical side and deploy it as a unit so it can get into the battle. While it's in play as a unit, you can no longer use the ability on the horizontal side, but if your leader would be defeated, it flips back to the horizontal side and returns to your base, where it can once again use its ability. But it can no longer be redeployed as its epic action was already used this game. Now, on its unit side, your leader becomes a unit, so let's look at unit cards. Star Wars Unlimited has a very cool and special mechanism. There are actually 2 arenas that you play your cards in: ground and space. Every unit will have the arena it can deploy to listed up here. We'll talk more about these in a moment. Over here is the card's cost, and in the case of the leader, you don't have to pay this cost when you use the epic action to deploy it, so it's really just there for card effect reference. The leader also still provides their aspect symbols while on this side. The TIE LN fighter, on the other hand, has a cost up here, including its villainy aspect symbol. If your leader or base doesn't have a villainy symbol, this card will cost 3 to play instead of 1. To pay this cost, you will be exhausting resources that you have in play. Your units have stats too. The number in red on the units is their power, which is how much damage they deal when attacking or when they're attacked. The number in blue is their HP, which is how many damage counters will defeat them. Units can also have traits and abilities. Event cards are like one-shot effects that let you influence the game. Just like units, events have a cost, including aspect symbols and traits. The ability printed here is what you do when you play the card. Once the card's resolved, it gets discarded. Finally, upgrades are a way that you can enhance your units in play. When they enter play, they attach to a unit, and it'll list in the abilities here any attachment conditions. The cost to play them, including their aspect symbols, is right up here, and down at the bottom they list the bonus power and bonus HP they provide to the attached unit. When the attached unit leaves play for any reason, the upgrade is defeated and placed in its owner's discard pile. Now, with the card anatomy out of the way, let's set up a game and talk about the game flow. So here we have a typical game board at the start of the game. When you're setting up, start by placing your bases facing each other, then put your leaders behind your bases on their horizontal, non-unit sides. Now, players will use a random method to determine who starts with the initiative. The player who wins the initiative will take the first action of the game. Players then shuffle their decks and draw a starting hand of 6 cards. Star Wars Unlimited has a mulligan system. Players are both allowed a single full mulligan if they're unhappy with their opening hand. If you take a mulligan, at this point you would shuffle your entire hand into your deck and then draw a new hand of 6 cards. You must keep that second hand. Finally, once both players have finished either mulliganing or keeping their opening hands, both players will choose 2 cards from their hands and place them face down and ready, which is vertically oriented, in front of them as resources. Now, the game can begin. Now, Star Wars Unlimited actually plays much differently than most other TCGs, but if you were a big Star Wars Destiny player, there will be some familiarity for you here. Instead of taking full turns, players will take a shared turn in which they take actions back and forth until both players pass. The game is played across a series of rounds. Each round consists of 2 phases, the action phase and the regroup phase. During the action phase, starting with the player holding the initiative, each player takes a turn taking a single action. Here are the possible actions a player can take. Play a card. Attack with a unit. Use an action ability. Take the initiative. And pass. I'll describe each action in detail shortly. Once both players have taken the pass action consecutively, the action phase ends and the regroup phase begins. During the regroup phase, both players follow these steps. Both players will draw 2 cards. Starting with the player with initiative, both players may choose up to 1 card in their hand to place face down as a resource. Then both players ready all exhausted cards they control. After completing those steps, the regroup phase is over and a new round begins, starting with the action phase and the player with initiative. So let's go through these actions in detail. Play a card. To play a card, choose a card in your hand and pay its cost by exhausting that many ready resources. Remember to watch out for the aspect penalty. If you can't exactly match the card's aspects to the aspects provided by your leader and base, you'll have to add 2 to the cost for every missing symbol. When you play a unit card, place it in play, exhausted, in the arena listed on the card. This Alliance X-Wing will go into the space arena, while Leia Organa would go to the ground arena. When you play an upgrade card, attach it to the appropriate type of unit in play, as listed in the card's abilities. And when you play an event card, resolve the card's abilities, and then place it in your discard pile. Attack with a unit. You probably want to start attacking at some point to try and win the game. Since units enter play exhausted, they normally cannot attack the turn they enter play, but on the next round they'll be ready and able to attack. To attack with a unit, select a ready unit to attack with, then exhaust it and select a target. Units can either attack an enemy unit in the same arena or attack the opponent's base directly. However, units cannot attack across arenas. Let's go through how to resolve each option. If an enemy unit is attacked, the target is now considered the defender. After resolving any on-attack abilities like Saboteur, Restore, or anything listed as on-attack on the card, the attacker and defender each deal damage equal to their power to the other, which is placed on the card as damage counters. Damage will stay on a unit round to round, it does not clear, and if a unit ever has damage counters equal to or greater than their HP, that unit is defeated and placed in the discard pile. If a base is attacked, after resolving any on-attack abilities, again like Saboteur, Restore, and anything else listed on the card, place damage counters on the base equal to the attacker's power. If the base ever has damage equal to or greater than its HP, well, then that base's controller loses the game. Use an action ability. Some cards, including leaders, will have action abilities that can be used as an action on your turn. These will list the word action, or epic action for once per game abilities, and often a cost. The cost may include paying resources by exhausting the number in the yellow bubble, and may include exhausting the card itself, indicated by this arrow symbol. After paying the cost, resolve the effect to complete the action. Take the initiative. As an action, you may choose to take the initiative even if you already have the initiative. Taking the initiative can only be performed by one player each round, and that player gains, or retains, the initiative counter, and then must pass all subsequent actions that round. Taking the initiative is also considered a pass action for the purposes of determining the end of the action phase. Pass. If you don't wish to do anything right now, or you've run out of actions to take, you may always take the pass action and do nothing. Your opponent will immediately get to take their next action. You may take the pass action and still take actions later on in that phase, but as soon as both players consecutively take the pass or take the initiative action, the action phase ends and the regroup phase begins. And those are the basics. You're now ready to play your first game of Star Wars Unlimited. However, there are a few extra details that I do want to go through to help you understand some of the card effects in the game. And then after that, we are going to play through a few sample rounds of a game so you can get a feel for it. Star Wars Unlimited uses various tokens to augment cards in play. Tokens are kept outside of the game and created by cards during the game. The tokens we've seen in Spark of Rebellion are upgrade tokens, meaning they count as upgrades on your units as well. There are two upgrade tokens to be aware of. Shield token. While a shield token upgrade is on a unit, if that unit would take any amount of damage, instead prevent that damage, and then defeat one shield token on the unit. Experience token. For each experience token upgrade on a unit, that unit gets +1 power and +1 HP. If you don't have enough tokens, it's not a problem. The actual cards are just there to help you, but they are not required. As long as you use some sort of item that you and your opponent both understand represents the token, that'll work just fine. Now that I've explained the rules, let's jump into a few turns of a sample game. We'll be playing Luke Skywalker, and our opponent, of course, will be Darth Vader. After placing our bases and leaders in play, we roll to see who starts with initiative, and we win the roll. The initiative is ours. We draw our 6-card hand, and this should be just fine. No need to mulligan this. Our opponent also chooses to keep their hand. We will now resource 2 cards from our hand. We can't play these ones until later, so let's just make these our resources. Our opponent does the same, and now we can begin our first action phase. Since we started with the initiative, we get the first action. Let me see here. We could play Leia to the ground or the X-Wing to space. We can do some cool things with this Leia, so let's start there. For our first action, we exhaust our 2 resources to play Leia Organa Defiant Princess. She enters the ground arena exhausted, and her when played effect goes off. Our opponent has no units anyway, so we'll choose to ready one of our resources. Vader gets an action now, and it looks like he wants to contest us in the ground arena. He plays a Death Star Stormtrooper there by exhausting 1 resource. Alright, our action again. We have no cards to play that cost 1, but we can use Luke's action. By exhausting one resource and exhausting Luke, we can place a shield token on a heroism ally we played this phase, and Leia fits the bill. Now Leia is safe from the first source of damage that would hit her. For Vader's second action, he'll play a TIE LN fighter to the space arena. We've got nothing in play to contest it right now, so that's a little scary. On our third action, our resources are exhausted and we've got nothing left to do, so we'll be the ones to take the initiative this turn, preventing Vader from snatching it from us. Vader's also got nothing left, so he passes. Since we both passed or took the initiative in turn, the action phase ends and we move to the regroup phase, where we draw 2 cards, choose a card in hand to resource, and then ready everything. Alright, round 2 and we're still on the play. Let's put our shield token to work. That trooper would eat Leia alive without it, so we'll begin by attacking with Leia, choosing the Death Star Stormtrooper as the target. Leia deals 2 damage to the trooper, which is enough to beat his HP of 1, and the trooper's damage is absorbed fully by Leia's shield. For Vader's action, he'll exhaust 2 resources to play a Viper probe droid to the ground arena. When that enters play, he gets to look at our hand, and now he knows we're holding on to a Vanquish. That info might help him later on. It's our action again, and as much as we want to play this Yoda, let's try to contest in space and play this Alliance X-Wing there with 2 of our resources. Now on Vader's action, he could attack into the X-Wing, but he's not really getting anywhere. His TIE would be destroyed, and the X-Wing would have some damage on it, but it would live. Instead, he chooses to be the aggressor and get some damage on our base by attacking it directly. That's 2 damage marked. Now on our action, we'll go ahead and use Luke's ability to shield our X-Wing that we just played. This will give us an advantage in space against that TIE fighter. Darth could activate to deal a damage to the X-Wing and eat up that shield, but he might decide to let us take space and go for the ground in this game. By activating to deal 1 damage to Leia, he's going to force us to aggressively attack with her before he does it again in the next round to take her out. At least on our next action, we can take the initiative again. Holding this seems very good for us. Vader then also passes and we move to the regroup phase, once again drawing 2, resourcing a card of our choice, and readying everything before moving to round 3. At the start of round 3, we still have the initiative, but there are a lot of threats building. Since Darth could just activate to take out Leia later this round, we'll take our first action to attack with our wounded Leia into the probe droid to take them both out. Vader sees that he's likely to lose his TIE soon, so his first move is actually to attack with it into our base to make sure it deals its damage. That brings us to 5 damage taken. Of course, we retaliate by attacking the TIE with our X-Wing, dealing lethal damage and only losing our shield in the process. Vader, unfazed by this, shows us that Imperial reinforcements are always on the way. He plays Grand Moff Tarkin to the ground arena, allowing him to draw 2 more Imperial trait cards from the top of his deck. Boy, we really need to play something here that can force Vader to attack into him and live, so this Cloud City Wingguard is perfect. His Sentinel ability requires enemy units in the same arena to attack him before they can attack other units or the base, and his HP of 4 means he can survive multiple attacks from these weaker Imperials. But this doesn't look good for us. On Vader's action, he takes the initiative, so he'll get the first action next round instead. Well, we have 1 resource left, and unfortunately, the Cloud City Wingguard does not have the heroism aspect, so we can't use Luke to shield him. I wonder if we could have played that differently. Oh well, we're out of actions, so we'll have to pass. Moving on to the regroup phase and beyond, with Vader finally getting to take the first action next round after taking the initiative from us. But we'll leave the demo here and give you the opportunity to explore the unlimited possibilities of Star Wars Unlimited on your own. So, who do you think was going to win that game? It felt like we had control over the game in the first couple of turns, but by turn 3, we had taken actually a lot of damage and Vader had just stolen the initiative out from under us. Let me know in the comments down below if you think Luke was going to find a way to pull out a win there, or if the might of the Empire was set up to crush our insignificant rebellion. With everything we went through in this video, you should be all set up to explore the unlimited possibilities of Star Wars Unlimited. But of course, TCGs are complicated. If you are still left with hanging rules questions, I encourage you to do one of two things. Either leave a comment down below where I will be going through and answering all the rules questions that come up with as accurate answers as possible to make sure you are set up for success, and check the description where I will be posting links to all of the rules documents as they get published so that you will be able to just read through those as well. I really hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like on the video or comment down below with what you thought. That stuff really helps, and a friendly comment, of course, always makes my day. Thank you guys so much for watching another one of our ultimate how to play videos, and we will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching another Main Deck video. You can support Main Deck by shopping at tcgplayer.com using our affiliate link. Check the description of the video for details. Main Deck is sponsored by J-Dubs Sports Cards and Gaming. Visit jwwcards.com and by our amazing patrons. Get exclusive content and other cool perks on the Main Deck Patreon. And hey, while you're here, I bet you'd like one of these videos. Go ahead, click one. I know you're gonna love it.